So far the name of the school is AJ's Racing Academy, but I don't know. How's it look on a t-shirt? What do you think, kid? Hey there. If you're listening to this message, then congratulations. Not only did you enter your details correctly, but you also impressed me. Impressed me enough that I'm going to invite you to the AJ Racing Academy. As you may have guessed, it's been set up by yours truly, and my one and only goal is to push you out there a bit more. Throw you in the deep end and see if you can swim. Make Team AJ a dominant force in the world of extreme motorsports. So, no pressure. Well, that's you all signed up. Welcome to the club. Now listen, I know you just want to get out there and wreck some tires, but just hold up a minute. I've curated a whole bunch of events you might be interested in, and I'm giving you, yes, you, the luxury of choice. No need to thank me. See what takes your fancy and just jump right in. If you find a style you really connect with, then by all means, stick with it. But you can always mix it up with something a bit different. Hey, you never know where you might make a name for yourself. And this is all about making a name for yourself, right? Yes. Yes, I am right.
Rally Raid is a start-to-finish, point-to-point race through beautiful natural landscapes.
Which you won't have any time to admire because you'll be inches away from wiping out in a hedge somewhere.
Lots of speed, lots of jumps, tight corners, and split routes to help break up the pack. Rally Raid is as dirt as it gets.
Το ακούτε αυτό? Τι θόρυβος! Ίσα που ακούγομαι! Οι οδηγοί είναι έτοιμοι και ο αγώνας μόλις ξεκίνησε!
So, Nolan, speaking of the current crop of racers, did you remember the name of that rookie that you were telling me about the other day?
Boss? Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, kind of funky name. Gonna be honest, a little jealous.
Hey now, man. James is a great, strong name.
I really appreciate that, bud. Thank you.
Did you know that it's a popular boy's name? It means supplanter or one who follows. You know, in the 17th century Scotland.
Are you reading off the internet?
I would never.
Nolan, I can see your phone. Put it away. You're just reading off the internet.
Okay.
You're an amazing wealth of information, Nolan. I'm sure people tuned into this to listen to name meanings. Let's talk about cars and racing. I hope you got some sick coilovers because this land rush is gonna wreck your day.
James, I gotta go. I left my sick coilovers at home.
Nolan, you're gonna need them. With rough circuits filled with tight turns and technical straights, small jumps that jostle you around, and a couple of big old boys to really test your suspension. Dirt or snow, anything goes. Buckle up, Cupcake. This is Land Rush.
Thanks, Buttercup.
Weren't you supposed to be gone already?
听听这漫天的欢呼声，我几乎都听不到自己的声音了。歌手们都已经蓄势待发。
Hey, what's that sound?
Is it thunder?
Wrong! It's a stampede, but not of the traditional variety.
Snakes? Buff horses?
Wrong again! These thoroughbred animals run on gasoline and grit, throwing themselves into a pack of other racers across hard, natural landscapes.
Oh, cars. I should have known.
That's what this whole series is about, dude. It's all we talk about. Circuits are constructed on rough and often unmarked desert terrain with varied steepness and lots of jumps to be tackled. Saddle up, partner! It's a stampede! What happens when you combine street racing and off-road terrain?
Off-street road terrain racing.
No. You get ultracross, a high-speed discipline on custom-made tracks designed for fast cars and even faster drivers.
What does that even mean? The person is going faster than the car?
Can I get back to explaining this, or do we have to talk physics?
All right, carry.
Test your cornering, long straights to get your speed up, and crossovers so you can see just how far ahead you are.
Støyen, lukten, deltakerne. Dette kommer til å bli bra. Og vi begynner.
Ice. It's smooth, flat, and cold, and the only thing between you and the depths of the abyss.
Also, great in a soda to make it really crisp.
Good point. Ice, friend and enemy.
Icebreakers are for drift specialists with sweeping corners and long straights custom built for sweet sideways action.
You gotta stay cool and keep control on a surface with very little grip.
I get it. Cool, as in ice.
Dude, I told you, stop explaining my jokes. It ruins the effect.
Here we are, folks, another slice of off-road racing, right here at the Dirt Off-Road Series.
If I say Gymkhana, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Donuts. Cars doing donuts.
What's the second thing that comes to mind?
Horses not doing donuts.
Correct. But you were right the first time. It's all about them hearse purrs, baby. Just to be clear, I'm talking about cars, not actual horses.
Got it.
Drift, jump, and donut your way to success in these custom-built stunt arenas.
You need to string together tricks and stunts and post the best score you can in the allotted time.
Keep the crowd hyped and don't get motion sick.
Yeah, don't mess up the interior.
We'll have to hose it out, and we're going to charge you.
You see that? Events like these, that's what we're after. The big, headline-grabbing showstoppers. But they don't just let anyone enter, not even if AJ asks very nicely. So how do I get that golden ticket, I hear you ask? Well, my friend, you gotta work your magic elsewhere. You win a race here, you get your reputation there, and generally just do the absolute best you can. Well, how'd that happen? Here I am explaining how it works, and there you go, boom, main event.
What's this Pathfinder event all about?
You gotta be real brave. Pathfinder features the most hardcore off-road terrain in the whole Dirt Off-Road series.
That's right, it's just you, your custom-built rock-crawling machine, on-point navigation skills, and the unforgiving march of Father Time.
Father who?
Father Time is the personification of time. In recent centuries, he is often depicted as having a beard. James, you have a beard.
Oh my god, am I?
You're always wearing a watch as well.
I am Father Time. Behold my power over time itself.
What are you doing?
Manipulating time itself.
I don't think you are, James. Sorry, I think you're just James.
Who is this James? I only respond to Father Time or his timeliness.
Why are you always late?
التوتر يحتدم وأصوات الجماهير.
popular in the US of A. USA! USA! Sprint cars are high-powered, open-frame race cars designed primarily to turn left,
And occasionally right.
but mostly left.
They run on short ovals or circular dirt tracks, and strapping yourself into one of these takes no small amount of courage.
If you like power, dirt, and going sideways, sprint racing is most definitely for you.
I love the wheels.
Same. If you want different sized tires on every single one of your wheels, Sprint's got you covered, baby.
Dirt Off-Road Series promette di portarvi emozioni e adrenalina per questa
are definitely not making any friends out there. You keep the aggression, because that'll help you get the wins, but just make sure you don't push things too far. I know what you're thinking. Why am I suddenly going all over the world in really amazing cars, almost no questions asked? Well, don't think too hard about it. Save your brain cells for where you need them, you know, on the track. All you need to know is you're doing well, and there's brands out there that want to be attached to your name. And here's the nice bit. You get to choose who suits you best. So get reading the finer details because they're all going to demand different things from you. And each sponsor will offer different rewards, too. The final thing to consider is loyalty. You can only go so far with some sponsors, so don't be afraid to jump ship for a higher reward further down the road. It's all about keeping you racing, all right?
指示灯马上就要变绿了，观众正在呐喊加油，引起众多的。
I piloti sono pronti! Pronti per mettersi in gioco!
एउटा अफ-रोड श्रृङ्खला वास्तवमै रेसको लागि उत्साह र उल्लास ल्याउन खोज्दैछ।
Welcome back to the Dirt Podcast by Donut Media. It's me, James Pumphrey, and as always, I'm joined by my handsome co-host, Nolan Sykes.
Thank you, I'm flattered.
It is race weekend, people. Toot, toot! We got Jamie Chadwick on the line, coming all the way from Nevada. W Series champion, everybody. No need for an intro. Jamie, what is going on in the land of dice and desert lizards?
Hey James, how are you? Yeah, I'm in Nevada. It's super cool here. It's obviously a little bit noisy, but it's the big race coming up this weekend, and honestly, I can't wait.
Yeah, it sounds super noisy out there. Are you racing?
No, sadly not. It's a rare weekend off for me, but yeah, I'm here supporting AJ actually. I've heard he's going to be out practicing soon, so I might go try to sneak a little look if I can.
Oh, AJ, close personal friend of the show and myself. He came to my wedding. Don't mean to brag. So you're a big fan as well?
Oh, massive fan. Guilty as charged there. I think he's so exciting to watch. He's really one of the crowd's favorites. I also love how he's bringing up younger racers as well. It's so cool to see, and obviously a big fan.
So, Jamie, you're known for your open wheel racing career. What is it about the dirt that attracts you to the sport?
I think what I love is the unpredictable nature. You know, you're always racing on different surfaces, everything's changing, there's such cool features, there's jump. For us, I don't want to say it's boring, but it's very, very sort of monotonous. It's always the same, whereas I love the fact it's always changing for you guys in dirt, and it's so cool to see. It makes the racing that bit more exciting.
Speaking of unpredictable, AJ is known for a slightly unpredictable, some might even say risky style of driving. How do you think that plays out in the heat of competition?
I mean, it works for him. I think that's the thing. For some drivers, it just doesn't work and they crash out and they have incidences. But for AJ, he seems to manage the risk really well. He calculates it and he gets away with it, and it's cool to see him go for gaps that I don't think exist, but he makes it happen, and it's why he's drawn in the big crowds this weekend.
So you think he's going to do pretty well this weekend then?
It goes without saying for me. I'm obviously in Nevada. I think if I were to put my money on anyone, it's on AJ, and fingers crossed he can have a good race.
Now moving on to the other side of the coin, a guy on the top of everyone's mind, a little guy named Bruno Duran. What are your thoughts on Bruno?
I mean, Bruno's got a lot of talent. It goes without saying. I think, love him or hate him, whatever you think, he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, but I mean, he's got talent, and no one can deny that.
Yeah, but he's kind of like a, you know what I'm saying? He's kind of a...
but come on, everyone has different styles, and no one's going to be the same. Not everyone's AJ, sadly, but everyone's got different styles, and this is the way he's gone out to get results, and all credit to him, he's driving well.
Well, Jamie, when you hang up your racing gloves, I think you should run for office, because you're very good at not answering questions.
All right, we won't disparage you too much. Jamie Chadwick, thank you so much for calling in on the show. Have a lovely weekend off in Nevada.
Don't lose all your money.
Cheers, thanks guys. Big fan of the podcast as well.
Thank you so much.
Jamie Chadwick, everybody. We're going to take care of some sponsorship stuff, and we will be right back.
紧张的局势一触即发，观众的欢呼声与引擎的轰鸣声此起彼伏，不相上下。